We're not going to waste any time getting into what is a massive storyline that has just unfolded at Marvel Stadium. A week, it's a long time in football, Kate, and the Saints have proved that tonight.
It certainly is, and I was really harsh on the Saints last week for their lack of defence, their lack of effort, and this one, it was just chaos in the fourth term. These are some of the opportunities that Geelong had late in the game. 41 points down in this game to fight back, and this was a huge moment. At first thought, we thought this was actually a goal from Brad Close. On the close-up, it was Wanganeen Malera who got the boot on it in the end. Some squaring kicks, some courage, huge efforts from St Kilda defenders, and then just a few opportunities missed really late from Geelong, but this game had it all. It was very close, and St Kilda, they hung on at the end. Just a few opportunities, as I said, that if they had them back, I think they'd square them up, but all credit has to go to St Kilda for their ability to bounce back from last week.
St Kilda and Ross Lyon coach teams have always been quite strong defensively, and that was no different today. But it was really the one percenters that proved the difference for the Saints. Take us through some of the vision that you've identified and some of the stats as well. Yeah, well,
I think the most important part of this is their rebound from last week. So my concern with the Saints last week was their defence. They had a lot of outs in the front half of the ground, but I didn't think their defence in any part of the ground was good enough. And then you reverse that to this week, and this is exceptional. It's full-length spoils and smothers. It's getting in front. It's just pushing your opponent off the ball, arm across, and just making your life difficult for your opponent. And this one here, Cal Wilkie, moments before this, he was crunched. You can see him. He can barely move. He's been able to get a hand in there and affect the ball going forward late in the game to save a scoring opportunity. And that's the sort of stuff we've come to see from the Saints. It's not the stuff we saw last week, but that was clearly an anomaly.
A lot of great team defensive efforts and a lot of one percenters as we just went through, but there was one clear Saturday king, as we're going to call it for the rest of this season. Your Saturday king, yes. Jack McCrae.
Yeah, Jack McCrae is my Saturday king this week. Just having a look at some of these highlights, but the numbers that stand out. Yes, 35 disposals. He had 9 clearances, 10 score involvements. He often gets really criticised that his possessions or his ability to work the ball forward doesn't have an impact on the game. Well, it definitely did this week. His ability to get his arm across, and then this here, beautiful clearance, lovely lowering of the eyes and kick forward. He had 10 tackles, none more effective than that one there late in the game to save the ball going inside their defensive 50.
Back at Marvel Stadium this week, the Saints, and they felt right at home as well. Let's have a look at their recent record at Marvel. How much of tonight's performance really come down to them being back on home turf?
Yeah, well, they play a very different brand of football at times at Marvel. It's their home ground. They make it a fortress. They've won their last 7. The only miss that they've had is against the eventual premiers against Brisbane. They got dominated by 85 points, but that's now 4 on the trot against Geelong too at Marvel, so they love matching up against them. I think it just gives them an ability to play a quicker game style, and it's a very unique stadium to play in, and if you can play it well, it's a big draw card to have.
The enduring headline out of tonight's game will likely be Tom Stewart. He went down early in the first quarter with what looked to be a serious knee injury. Now, Kate, you're big on the analysis of the mechanisms of injuries and what they might reveal. What can you tell us about this incident? What does it look like?
Yeah, I think this one's a clear PCL injury. There's a couple of ways to do them. One is knee straight into the turf, and that's what we've seen there. I was interested to see that he actually came back on and tested the knee out. I think it's round 2. Tom Stewart is an incredibly important player at Geelong. We saw last year how important he was to them when he got tagged, and essentially got tagged out of the game, was unable to move the ball, was unable to defend the way that they wanted to without him, and that is a big unfolding storyline.
Arguably their most important structural piece, but the man that's not far behind him is Jeremy Cameron, and he had a few issues through the game just with that left calf, and it changed his role as well.
Yeah, this is early in the game, so I'm still trying to work out whether the change of role was because they lost Tom Stewart or because Jeremy Cameron was hobbling with a calf complaint, which clearly hampered him. He could hardly move. He really couldn't get a whole lot of vertical leap about him. And he just, for someone that's so athletic, he just looked really uncomfortable for a lot of the game. Played that defensive wing role, so spent a whole lot of time behind the ball, 54% in the defensive half. And they threw him forward late to try and produce a goal. Nearly took a mark back with the flight, but he wasn't up to his best standard because I believe he was definitely hampered with something.
The other one to have a look at, particularly for the MRO coming out of tonight's game, is a Patrick Dangerfield incident in the third quarter. Hits a St Kilda player late in the contest. He's not going to like the look of that, given it's technically off the ball. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I think the thing that's going to save him here is that he does make contact at first with the shoulder and then it comes up. He hops in with the elbow, obviously Ryan Burns. The other thing that will help him is the fact that Ryan Burns played out the remainder of the game. We know when the player is concussed or goes off with concussive symptoms, that really does affect the outcome. So I think he'll be okay. I think he'll get a fine, but I don't think it'll be more than that.